talk about today is shrouded in secrecy, and for that reason, it has become the focus of conspiracy theorists. Is it a hiding place of aliens and weather control technology? Or is it merely a location where the USA develops highly advanced military machinery? It is often referred to as a black site, where black projects take place, with black basically meaning highly classified. Today we'll look at one of the most mysterious black sites in the world. In this episode of the Infographics Show, what do we know about Area 51? We are told it's called Area 51 because it was named that in some documents pertaining to the Vietnam War. The Central Intelligence Agency gives it a far less mysterious name and calls it Homey Airport and Groom Lake. This is a restricted area in Nevada about 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas. In 1955, the site was first used for flight testing, but what happens there now is largely unknown. The down-to-earth theory is that the US conducts secret military exercises there, which includes the testing of weapons that are in development. The reason it remains so secret, of course, is because the US doesn't want any of these experiments falling into the hands of its real or possible enemies. Before we get into any of the more outlandish theories about Area 51, we'll tell you what we do know for fact. First of all, it's a restricted area, but according to most sources we can find, it is not as heavily guarded as you might expect. You can follow a dusty desert road close to the area, but at some point you'll find no entry signs that warn trespassers they could take the brunt of deadly force if they go any further. It is patrolled, but not as aggressively as you'd think, and it's more likely you'll be told to go back or receive a fine rather than be shot at if you wander into the site. You can't fly over it, and if you attempt to fly a drone over there, you will no doubt get in trouble. According to some sources, the area is surrounded by cameras and sensors, with one website stating the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. You can get up to the gates, however, and you'll have to follow the aptly named extraterrestrial superhighway to get there. We found there is even an adult entertainment club called the Alien Cat House just west of Area 51. What we are trying to say is that it's not as off the grid as you might think. Okay, so we now know what kind of place we're looking at, but what happened there in the beginning? It was a child of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. The US wanted to test its military equipment in a far-off place. The military wanted personnel and engineers to go and work there, and for that reason, so we are told, they gave it the nice-sounding name of Paradise Ranch. The first testing would be of a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft known as the U-2 program. Soon the locals would spot weird things in the air, or pilots would see strange high-flying aircraft, and this is where the speculation started regarding aliens and such. Because the government could say nothing about this, the UFO theories seemed almost credulous. Since then, all manner of covert operations have taken place at Area 51, which you can find by looking at declassified documents. These include building and testing the Bird of Prey Black Project stealth aircraft in the 90s. There are too many projects to mention, but no doubt aircraft are still being secretly built and tested there today. The latest developments are all secret, but you can check those declassified documents to see what went down there in the past. According to one expert, he believes present projects involve more exotic forms of radio communication, directed energy weapons, and lasers. So what is all the fuss about? Well, some people believe it's much more than a place where aircraft is developed and advanced weapons tested, but a site where the USA's biggest secrets are kept, such as where the moon landings were filmed and faked. It's not the moon landings, however, that have attracted the most attention. It's aliens. If you've seen our show on Roswell, and those people that say they saw aliens at the Roswell site, one might wonder what happened to our little green friends. Well, perhaps they were taken to Area 51 and still remain there now. Does that sound crazy to you? It might sound crazy if you haven't heard of the name Bob Lazar. Lazar is a 59-year-old American engineer that told the world he had worked on reverse engineering several flying saucers. He made this public at first under a pseudonym when his face was blacked out in an interview on American TV in 1989. He also claimed he had been given briefing documents explaining that he'd be dealing with aliens from the southern constellation of Reticulum, and that these aliens had been on Earth for around 10,000 years. To power their aircraft, they used the unknown element, Element 115. Lazar's critics say he falsified his academic records, but Lazar says they were wiped by the government. The only evidence is his testimony, but it must be said he is now a businessman and has no history that we can find of mental illness. In a recent interview, he said, "Look, I know what happened is true. There is no doubt, period. Of all the conspiracy theories, this has the most credibility, only because this supposed whistleblower seems to have no reason to lie and does have a background that could put him inside Area 51. Whatever the case, his words certainly kicked off years of speculation as to what goes on in there. From that point on, many people, without entering solid proof, have said that the site is riddled with underground tunnels leading to warehouses full of alien technology and even captured aliens. But not all the theories involve big-headed green men on a protracted vacation to planet Earth. Others believe a group called the Majestic 12, who we discussed in our Illuminati show, actually disseminate alien stories about the base because it's really being used to hatch their plan of ruling over the world. Aliens are a cover, a diversion story. How will they rule the world? Well, they might start by depopulating the planet. One of the conspiracy theories out there about Area 51 is that it is the place where weather control is developed and practiced. Before you get carried away, we should mention that many projects of the USA have been involved with weather control, including Project Cirrus and Project Storm Fury, and while these were benign, who's to say similar weather control projects couldn't be used more nefariously? That's what the Doomsday Believers tell us, anyway. What about the fake moon landings? Why was that flag waving in the wind when there is no wind on the moon? NASA says it's because the flag was being twisted by Buzz Aldrin. Was filmmaker Stanley Kubrick in on the deal? Much cheaper to hire him than actually go to the thing. There are countless theories out there stating that the landing was a hoax, but these have so far all been debunked. We don't have time to go through them all, but you can easily find them on the web. One of the non-conspiracy related issues involving Area 51 is that around the site there is a lot of radioactive waste and people have actually died from radiation poisoning. Civilians who work there have complained of rashes, racking coughs, or dreadful skin conditions. This has led to lawsuits being filed. In 2013, the LA Times called this the real cover-up. So yes, the American government is certainly working on some very experimental things in Area 51, and what goes on in there is kept secret for a reason. It's anyone's guess as to what is happening as you are watching this show, but there can be no doubt it is related to destructive forces. You may have your own theories or can provide more information as to the conspiracy theories, but we certainly cannot find any competing evidence that supports some of